Hello, Slicey Dicers. Today we have another battle to the death for you. Today we have the Kershaw Bareknuckle versus the Civivi Plethiros. This is one that I was planning on doing eventually. I didn't really have it on the front burner, but some of you have asked for it. Actually started this morning when I got up. There was a bunch of requests for it. So how's this for service? I moved it forward. Going to do it today. Pushing the video I had planned for today off till tomorrow to do this for you guys because somebody suggested it in the comments, and then I got a couple emails and stuff asking about it, and so here we go. The Bareknuckle, big hit last year. It is the 7777 is the model number, USA made, 14C28N, aluminum handles. It has the sub-frame lock construction. It is basically a Kershaw sort of version of the 0777. Very, very cool knife. Everybody has pretty much universally raved about this thing since it came out. They were sold out very quickly. They're back again now in a second run. Very cool knife. It's going to be a big hit for Kershaw. I'm sure we're going to see more of them. It is from the USA-made Kershaw factory, if I did not specify that. $69.95 is what these go for currently. You can sometimes find them a little cheaper on Amazon and stuff like that, but I recommend getting it through your local knife retailer, such as White Mountain Knives. WhiteMountainKnives.com. Use the code SDWMK at checkout, and you can get it for 10% off. Same goes for the Civivi. Very cool knife, very popular for a good reason. You'll see more about that as we go on with this comparison. Next up, we have the Plethiros. This is the larger of the two Isham Civivi collaborations that have come out. Elijah Isham, very famous knife designer, usually makes some pretty crazy stuff, but this is actually a pretty practical knife to use. I've already done a full review of it. This follows up on the Anthropos, and now the McKenna is coming out. The McKenna is a much slimmer, lighter blade. This is the largest of the three, and definitely the largest of the two that have come out so far. Unmistakably an Isham in design, but also, it's a pretty practical knife to use. It really is. I think that some of the Civivi Ishams are the best Ishams you can get as far as just being usable knives. You're getting D2 steel, carbon fiber laminate G10, liner lock, ceramic ball bearings, ceramic D10, the usual stuff you get from Civivi's. A bit more expensive. This is going to run you $74.80, so about $75 for one of these. So a little bit more expensive than the Bareknuckle, especially if you shop around a bit for the Bareknuckle. But again, you can use the 10% code. So let's talk about how these things work. How am I going to score this? Same as always, if you guys have ever watched any of these. We have 7 categories: design and aesthetics, quality, blade, ergonomics, carry, deployment, and value. And then we're going to add them up at the end, and we're going to have a winner. So let's get to it. Let's do some specs first of all. Then we will get into all of the individual scoreable categories. We have first up the Kershaw Bareknuckle. You have an overall length of 8.2 inches, blade length of 3.5 inches, blade stock thickness of 0.12 inches, handle thickness of 0.45 inches, and a weight of just a hair over 3.5 ounces, like 3.57 on my scale. Next up, the Plethiros, which I assume I'm saying correctly. I always pronounce things the most pretentious way possible, but I think that's how you say it. Overall length, a little bit shorter, 7.9 inches. Blade length, 3.45 inches. Blade thickness, the same as 0.12 inch blade stock. You have a handle thickness of, according to my measurements, dead on half an inch, and a weight of 3.17 ounces. All right, our scoreable categories. First up, design and aesthetics. This is always the most subjective of all of these, and I always like to preface that. This is the one that's the most my opinions. I think I like the look of the Bareknuckle. I think it's a good looking knife. I'm sure there are going to be lots of sprints of this because it is a US Kershaw, so we can almost guarantee to see this in their usual M390 black version and all that stuff. And that'll be cool, but right now you only get it in this one color. It's a handsome looking knife. I like the look of the subframe lock. I like the look of the pocket clip, stuff like that. It's a handsome looking knife. It ain't bad. But, this has all that Isham flair. The Plethiros just has the Isham flair, and it is available now in multiple colors. It comes in this black. It comes in a green or a tan. The carbon fiber is always just black carbon fiber, but where you see the G10 on here, it comes in those different versions. So, I got to give the win for looks to the Isham. It's an Isham, man. It just looks cool. It's just I just really like the way that it looks. I think it's a very good looking knife. And I think that about the Anthropos too. It's just a visually interesting knife. I think design and aesthetics wise, you got to give it to the Isham. Next up, quality. This one is tough. Civivi has great quality. They're always really good. I've never had a problem with one ever, and I've reviewed, I think, every single one of the many, 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 many models that they've made. You guys like to see reviews of them, so I always make sure to grab them as soon as I possibly can. I have a bit of a hookup to get them just a slight bit early, and it's very well built, absolutely very well built for sure. It's just so is the bare knuckle. I know that there were a few complaints. I'm not going to ignore that some people had some initial QC issues with the first run. I have heard nothing since then. Mine was perfect. I have to go by the two examples that I have. This one has been pretty much perfect since I got it. I did adjust the detent on it because it was a bit strong, but then I adjusted it back because once it broke in, I didn't need to have done that. I should have just waited a minute and it would have been fine. I've had zero issues with this, and it feels more quality and solid. I would probably honestly give a very slight win to the bare knuckle, except for those previous issues that I've heard about. So I have to call it a tie. Both are really good. The Civivi quality, I think, probably overall, you're more likely that the Civivi is probably going to maybe have less problems just because I've heard of fewer. But the bare knuckle, especially if you're getting one from the second run, I think is pretty darn good. I just have to call it a tie. I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on this one. If you guys could see my notes page, there's a lot of scribbles out where I give it to one and then give it to the other and then go back and I just gave up and gave it a tie. Blade. Got D2 versus 14C28N. As you can see, fairly similar as far as the cutting edges go. Actually fairly similar in shape. Almost identical amounts of length that you're getting there. You do have a full flat grind on the Plethiros. You have more of a high flat saberish grind almost on the bare knuckle. But again, both that same similar kind of sheep's footy, worn, cliffy sort of blade shape. I guess the Isham, if you look, the spine, it's more of just a modified drop point. But you know what I'm getting at. The cutting edge is fairly similar in shape. I prefer 14C28N to D2 all day long, absolutely. But I have to give the win on the blade to the Plethiros because of one measurement. 24 thousandths behind the edge on the Kershaw, which isn't bad. 14 thousandths behind the edge on the Plethiros. And same thickness and blade stock. This is a slicing machine. It is amazing. It's a really, really, really good slicer. And another thing I like about it, and this kind of bleeds into the ergonomics section too, and I'll probably mention it again there. If you're cutting on a flat surface, the way this handle shape, it works fantastic for that. You don't have a flipper tab in the way because of the nature of where they locate the flipper tabs, which we'll get to. But it's like food prep especially. It's just awesome. It's so good. I use it as like slice up some onions and stuff, and it's just great. It's just really, really good for that. Now, a lot of people don't use folding knives for food prep. I don't necessarily recommend it. I do it for review purposes. I don't know if I necessarily would all the time, but they do work. This does work very, very well for that. Just got to give the edge on the blade. Even though I prefer the blade steel on the Kershaw, and 14C28N Kershaw nails it. I mean, they helped invent the stuff, so obviously they know it pretty well. Prefer the blade steel on the Kershaw, but this is just so much slicier. I have to give the edge to the Plethiros on that. Ergonomics. This one was also a bit hard. Like I said, as far as ergonomics go, this is great for if you're cutting on a flat surface. It works really well. You don't have the flipper tab in the way, all that stuff they already said. It is very comfortable in the hand. I have no problems at all. You can feel the pocket clip a bit, but it's not obtrusive or horrible in any way. You can choke up a bit, which is nice. I usually do really like that. But there's just something about the bare knuckle. It just fills the hand a lot better. I like having this little bit of jimping up here. This recessed clip does work as far as, not creating a hot spot. You don't feel the clip at all. yeah, it's just this just fills the hand better. I can't really describe it. There's nothing wrong with the Plethiros, but this just fills the hand better, and I just like it better. Got to give ergonomics to the Bareknuckle, and I think most people would feel that way if you held them back to back. Nothing wrong with either of them, but the Bareknuckle is just a little bit better. As far as carries goes, we're gonna bring out Yield Wranglers for this one. Close them up. Start out with the Bareknuckle. This recessed clip, as I said, is great for ergonomics. It does make getting out of the pocket a little bit harder. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people make, but it is a noticeable thing. These Wranglers are pretty thick, but it is pretty. It's not super hard to get it out of the pocket, but it is a thing, especially for really thick pants. That recessed clip, you're gonna have to wiggle it a little bit. The screws seem to protrude a little bit. On some pants, it does get kind of hung up, and you got to give it that second little push. It does not on these particular ones. There is a flipper tab sticking out when you put your hand in the pocket. It's not horrible by any means, and it's fairly well hidden due to the shape of the knife, but it is there. Where the Civivi is, I'm going to set this where I'm going to forget it. You have great ramp on the pocket clip, super easy to slide in and out, slides in that nice smooth carbon. Very easy to get your hand by, no problems at all. And a lot of that is the nature of this clip, that typical, or the flipper tab, this clippable, that's a word I just invented. This the typical Isham, flipper tab placement. He likes these forward, kind of flippers. They're not front flippers, but there's these kind of top flippers, I guess, whatever you want to call them. These really cool minimal flipper tabs are really nice for carry purposes. They don't bother you at all. And it's a third of an ounce lighter. So got to give the win for carry to the Plethiros. Now, deployment. Civivis are great. And I already had a comment on Instagram. I said I was going to do this, and somebody said, oh, the slam dunk, it's going to be the Civivi. You'd think that, but it's not. This Isham flipper tab does create challenges. It is very hard for a lot of manufacturers to get the detent right. They definitely have on this. The detent is very good, and it's running on ceramics and all that. As far as the deploying it, snapping it out, they're about even. This is maybe a bit snappier, but not dramatically so. I do like the sound this makes, though, a whole lot. I've talked about that. It has a really good solid lock-up bang sound that it's locked up. Yes, this eye hole is somewhat usable, but not really. Yeah, it's not really usable for anything. I'm sure some people can pull it off. I think I can do it a little bit better on the Anthropos, but that's not enough to even factor in. It's just kind of there. You just saw I can slow roll it and stuff. That's kind of nice, but it's not really that big of a factor. Why I'm giving the win to the Bareknuckle is it's ZT smooth. It just is. You just saw how easy it drop shutted. I tore the Plethiros apart too and lubed it, put them on an even playing field. This is just super smooth. And any of us who've had Bareknuckles for a long time, I think everyone will attest that they are just drop shut ZT smooth. Kershaw is the mothership of ZT. ZT is basically, their high-end versions or their high-end brand. And this feels every bit as smooth as almost any ZT that I've had. Where this just doesn't quite drop like that. It just doesn't quite drop like that. So gotta give the win to the ZT for deployment value. I'm really surprised that I'm gonna say Kershaw on this one. Why am I saying that? Civivis are an excellent value. They always have been, but this $74.80. This is one of the higher priced of the Civivis. And I know that it's a little bit more expensive because it's an Isham design. And, when you do a collaboration, they're usually a little bit more expensive because the designer's got to get some money out of it too. So I understand that. But I just feel like, value-wise, I just feel like you're getting a bit more bang for your buck with the Kershaw. I like the materials better. I like 14C28N better. I prefer the aluminum scales to these G10 with the carbon laminate scales. And this is $5 cheaper, even less expensive. Sometimes you can find them. yeah, I just, and this is USA made if you care about that. And I know from a lot of experience of doing YouTube for a little while now, a lot of you guys really, really care about that. So it is USA made. Probably going to be easier warranty wise, not necessarily, but probably going to be. Civivi has nicer packaging and stuff. You get the nice little pouch and all that, but it's, yeah, I got to give the win on value to the Kershaw. And I think that will hold especially true, like I said, I'm sure we're going to see the M390 blackout version that they like to do on a lot of their USA made knives. And it probably won't be that much more expensive. Those are usually, it'll probably be somewhere in the 80s. So, yeah, got to give the win in value to the Kershaw. And I'm surprised to be saying that. I really thought off, just from top of my head that I'd probably give the win to the Civivi. But this one has gotten just expensive enough that I'm going to say that I think the Bareknuckle is a very slight win in the value category. So where does that leave us? In conclusion, we have 3-3 with one tie. But I always say value is the tiebreaker, and that goes to the Bareknuckle. So I have to say Bareknuckle is the winner in this. Not by much, though. By the skin of its teeth, I would say Bareknuckle is the winner. The Plethiros is a great knife. I think it comes down to the fact that this is more of a, USA made, more slightly normal. It's got a bit different stuff. I mean, that the subframe lock is, a pretty unique piece. So it's got some unique things, too. The Isham designs, some people aren't going to like it. That's just the way that it goes. I think this one is pretty acceptable to almost everyone, but some people just don't like Isham designs. But I like I like what he's doing. I'm picking up what he's putting down, but I know some people don't. And it's just comes down to, I just think this is a slightly better bang for the buck. And the action on these, once you've had one for a while and get it broken in, oh my God, they're so good. The action on the Bareknuckles is just fantastic. If you've been curious about a ZT, they cost $200, $250, didn't want to spend the money. Take a shot at one of these and, really use it for a month or so, and it'll break in, and that's what a ZT feels like, which is saying a whole lot. So got to give it overall win to the Bareknuckle. But if you don't care about USA made, and you want something with a bit of flair, I can completely understand why you would choose the Civivi. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's kind of a surprising result for me. I've been Brian. Have a good one.